Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farrah, and in today's video we're going to be doing another reading vlog. So it's just in the beginning of November. I am finishing up a couple of my lingering October reads, which are Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. I'm just about done with that, and then I'm also finishing up the What Moves the Dead by Kingfisher, which is a retelling of the Edgar Allan Poe short story called Fall of the House of Usher. So I'm almost done with both. Halloween Party is turning out to be a little bit of a disappointment. No big deal there. I'll have a separate video on that. And then but What Moves the Dead by Kingfisher has been really, really good. I really have been enjoying this a lot. I think it's a really good retelling, a close retelling to the original short story, but I feel like it's answering a lot of questions that I had when I was reading the first original Poe version. It's just a really creative take, and some of the fungus horror is really good. It's so good. So far, I'm highly recommending this to anybody that just wants a really quick novella surrounding fungal body horror. It's so good. So those are the two books I'm just finishing up, and I just started The Body Keeps the Score. That's going to be my next audiobook. And I'm also going to be starting up An Immense World by Yong, which is a nonfiction pick focusing on the extraordinary senses that animals have that are prominent in their experience of reality that are different from what we experience. So excited to be jumping into that as well. As far as what's going on here, both of my daughters have finished up their fall sports, which is so nice. I mean, I love that they're active, and don't get me wrong, it's very important for me that they're active, but it's nice to have a little break. We have time in our evenings again where I don't have to rush out to, a practice or a game, and we can just, relax a little bit more. But they're going to be starting up their winter stuff soon, so it'll get busy again. Yeah, but just wanted to introduce the vlog, and I just wanted to give you guys a really special thank you for all of you that watched and commented on my most recent vlog. It was it just made me feel like so happy that people were watching it and enjoyed it, and I really appreciate that. So thank you very much. But yeah, going forward, I have a couple of things to do today. I have the day off. I'm going to film a bunch of videos to get them sort of pre-filmed and out of the way, and I'm going to just do some cleaning, all that stuff. So I will check in with you guys soon. All right, just checking in. I am listening to the audio on this, and I've made it to about a 30% point in this book. And I think initially I was really enjoying it because I felt like the characters were really, really funny, especially the main character named Poppy. And I was laughing out loud at so many things that were coming out of her mouth. And the two main characters that we're following, Alex and Poppy, they just had really, really good banter. Interesting premise. It's about two people. They met in college, became really good friends, best friends, and they never dated, but they continued to go on vacation every summer for 1 week for like 10 years. Poppy lives in New York City, and she works at a travel magazine. And then Alex works in their hometown in Ohio as a teacher. So every summer they got together and they went on vacation together. That was kind of their tradition. They both appeared to have dated people on and off, but they're both still single. So we start in the present time, which is 12 years after they met. And we know that something happened that kind of separated their friendship for a few years. So we keep flashing backwards. We go all the way back 10 years to the first vacation they ever took. And, I'm at the 30% point and I'm starting to get a bit bored of it a little bit. I kind of feel like this would have worked better for me if it was more of a linear timeline instead of this bouncing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It has a very Harry meets Sally sort of vibe to it. And I don't know how I feel. I am just kind of bored with it, but I'm going to give it a little more chance. I'm going to listen to it for a little longer to see if I actually want to keep going with it. Because with the Read What You Own challenge, I told myself I was really going to be strict on if I wasn't totally vibing with the book, that I would DNF. So yeah, I'm going to read it for a little bit longer and I'll check back in to share my thoughts. Hey everybody, just out again on another walk. So I was telling you about how people we meet on vacation wasn't going so well for me. I'm now at the 50% mark and I really am I don't know, I think I might be ready to DNF this. It's just too much of these two characters. It's too much never-ending banter, constant teasing each other. It's just the whole premise is really unbelievable to me. It's these two young, straight people, man and a woman, best friends. They go on vacation every summer. The novel is going through every single vacation they've ever had, and they touch each other all the time. And it's just, please, you two, Emily Henry, you can't fool me with these shenanigans. You can't make me believe that they have never acted on their impulses out of this whole time. They're so compatible. They're so perfect for each other, but they're just hanging on to this friendship and nothing has ever happened. I don't know. I don't believe that, but I considered DNFing this because I'm trying to be better about that. But this is a book that I actually bought at Target. I rarely buy new books, and so I just feel like I need to get my money's worth and I need to finish it. Maybe that's awful. But I do really like her writing a lot. I will say that. She writes tension really well, and I think the story is flowing pretty well, but I kind of feel like it's just these two characters the whole time, and it's very dialogue heavy. So even though they keep going on vacation to all these different places, it's the same sort of situation. And we're not really hearing much about the actual place they're at, which would make it more interesting, but it's just like them bantering and teasing each other, and you get little tiny heartfelt moments. So I don't know, maybe I'm just too old. I feel like if you're somebody in your 20s, early 30s, or still in the dating phase of your life, that you may enjoy this more. But I just think that, I don't know, maybe it's just not quite a book for me, but The writing's enough to make me keep listening to it, but I do feel like I'm trapped in this little room with both of them, and it feels claustrophobic. It's like one of those movies where there's really only two characters and they're talking all the time and it's really close-up camera angles. That's my feeling. So 50% check in with that. I am going to listen to it a little bit more and see how I feel. I'm also about halfway through with the What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and this is really, really good. I'm really liking this one. This is the retelling of the Edgar Allan Poe short story called The Fall of the House of Usher, and this is a show on Netflix. It just came out also that I really want to watch, but I am really enjoying this. So that one's going great. It's getting really creepy at this point. There's like this fungus focus, which is really interesting. There's weird stuff happening with the animals outside, and we just see this kind of slight possession of one of the characters. It's really good. I'm really enjoying that. And then Agatha Christie, Halloween Party. This one I'm also at about the 50% mark, and yeah, this one I'm not loving. I feel so bad saying that about our lovely Agatha Christie, but my impressions of Poirot, just nothing special yet. I do think this might be one of her less favorite novels, so I know that it's still really not a super clear indication of him as a character, but it's just kind of boring. I hate to say that. I'm hoping that it starts to pick up. We're starting to change scenery a little bit, but the first half of the book is like basically him interviewing the people at the party where this child was killed, and it's like the same questions being asked over and over. I don't know. It's dragging. It's really dragging, but I'll get through it. And yeah, so that's it for now. A lot of my library holds are coming in for nonfiction November, so I'm kind of getting antsy to get to those, but just wanted to give you guys a really quick check-in. I wanted to give you guys another quick update. I finished 2 books. Last night I finished Halloween Party, and it was interesting. I have to say, it definitely got better. I'm glad I kept going with it. It got better after the 100-page point. Before that, it was just a little repetitive and a little bit boring, to be honest. But things started to get rolling. We get a little bit more, different context, different characters that Poirot is interviewing, and he figures it out. But we're not being told who it is yet. We have to wait until the very end. And throughout the novel, I did find more of that Agatha Christie charm that I've heard that she has in her books. So that kept popping up within the dialogue, within Poirot's character. And I really especially enjoyed Mrs. Oliver. I don't know how to say her first name. Adrienne maybe is her first name. But she was kind of quirky, and I did enjoy her parts within the book. And the whodunit person, I didn't really figure it out, but at the same time, I wasn't really shocked, if that makes sense. The motive was strange. The motive didn't come together quite as good for me, but overall, I probably would give it a 3. It wasn't horrible, but it definitely, I don't think, is a reflection of her work, her good work. So glad I did it. I wouldn't really recommend this unless you want to read all of the Christie novels like I do. So that was pretty good. And then this morning I finished People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And I'm glad I kept going with this. Again, at that 50% mark, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep going, but it did get better. We started to get some action rolling in, started to get some steamy scenes. But overall, This is a case of, I think I've just done too much of my own inner work when it comes to relationships to be able to tolerate the miscommunication trope that there was. I couldn't believe that the situation that brought them to that 2-year absence in this incredibly close friendship was that. It's like, get it together, people. Tell people how you feel. Life's too short. Don't be so afraid. There was such a focus on this intense soulmate situation, which I don't necessarily believe in one soulmate for everyone. I don't think that's how it works. I don't like placing that kind of pressure on someone else. So I just think that, the banter was great. The writing was great. There was some heartfelt moments and everything, but overall, the romance and the dual timeline and the miscommunication trope, I just, it wasn't really for me. But I would give it about a 3.5 just for how funny it was. I mean, I laughed many times throughout this book. So I'm probably going to give Emily Henry another chance. I may pick up Beach Reads, which I would think was her debut novel, but not for a little while. But yeah, so just this morning I started up The Body Keeps the Score, and I'm about an hour in. I read the first chapter and the introduction, and it's really good. It's really, really good. And I'm fighting the urge to buy this book because I'm already writing so much down. I wish I had the physical copy to tab, but I one of my rules with book buying is that if I listen to an audiobook, I want to get through the whole thing before I decide to buy it and give it a couple days. And that has really helped with my impulse buying, I think, because some books I ended up not really wanting to buy. So really, really interesting. It goes into some graphic detail, though, about some of the types of trauma people experience. So ironically, I don't think this is a great book for somebody that has gone through traumas, like a Vietnam War vet, for example, or somebody that had to experience child abuse or abuse as a child. I can see this being extremely triggering for people. So I'll have more thoughts on this, obviously, as I go through it, but just interesting to start off with. So that's my update. Hey guys, just wanted to check in. I haven't really been vlogging most of the week. It's been really busy. Work's been crazy busy. We have so many people off this month and next month, and performance evaluations and all that stuff, you guys know. But I just wanted to check in real quickly and wrap up the vlog and talk about 2 books real quickly that I started and I'm really enjoying. As I mentioned in my previous clip, I am still working my way through The Body Keeps the Score, and I'm about at the 50% mark now, and this book is excellent. It is narrative nonfiction, so it's told in a way that, although what he's talking about can feel very academic in nature, because he uses so much storytelling and interviews with doctors and examples and patient accounts, it doesn't feel too overwhelming. But it's hard for me really to judge how easy this would be for somebody that doesn't necessarily work in the healthcare field. For me, a lot of the terminology is stuff that I'm used to reading about. The language is very familiar to me, but I don't know as though a person that doesn't work in healthcare or the sciences, it might feel like information overload for sure. At the 50% part, we're still talking a lot about trauma and the types of trauma and how that is affecting people's brains and body. And there's just these really predictable reactions that people have. And I guess it is very eye-opening because sometimes I think we forget the level of PSTD that these war veterans come home with. And, they may be keeping up a happy face, but what's going on in a lot of their minds is just a nightmare. The same thing with victims of childhood sexual abuse. And the trauma that he gets into, he does get graphically into it. There's a lot of examples and people sharing their stories. So that is really difficult to read. There's a section that he talks about child abuse from priests, and it's hard to read. It's really difficult to read. I am finding I can only listen to about 2 hours a day of this because it is kind of, it's tough material to get through. I'm more interested in getting to the healing part, which I think is hopefully coming up in the next half of the book. But overall, I think it's structured really well. Again, the language is, it's very, very well written. And so far, I would recommend this to anybody that works in healthcare, anybody that has a loved one that has gone through any kind of trauma. I know for me, I have gone through something in college which has opened my eyes a lot to why I felt the way I did and why I may have some lingering feelings in this area. So that's been really helpful. But to someone that has had very similar experiences, I would not recommend reading the first half of this book because I can just imagine that it would be very hard for some people to get through this, especially if you haven't really healed from the trauma that you've had. So again, if you have a loved one that has been through trauma, or if you've been through some minor trauma yourself and you're interested in why you may still feel the way you do about some things, then highly recommend. So I will go on more with this with my next vlog, but just wanted to check in at that point. Really well written and really enjoying it so far. And the second book I want to talk about is the one I just started called An Immense World by Yong. And I can't remember the little subtitle, but it has to do with how animals perceive the reality around us using their senses. This book is amazing. I'm only through chapter 2 so far. So this is narrative, also narrative nonfiction, and the author is a science journalist. And basically he goes around interviewing different scientists and biologists in the profession of zoology. And it's so good. I am absolutely loving this. First of all, I love Yong's writing. This is my first book by him, and I'm definitely going to be sure to check out whatever else he has in his backlist. But it's really, really fascinating. So it's told in a way that, sometimes these type of books can get a little dry or academic, but he has such a narrative style of writing that it's just so easy to follow along with him. Each chapter focuses on a different sense. So far we've talked about the sense of smell and the sense of sight. And throughout the chapter, he focuses on a few different animals that he'll talk about in depth about how their sense is so profound and how it's so different from ours. And, there's just this idea that when we view the world around us, we think that we're seeing everything there is to see. But there's so many different versions of that reality based on the type of species you are. And I love the idea that there's all these different worlds around us that we aren't aware of. There's one of the sections where he talks about these certain type of tree hugger flies, I think it is. But they make these little vibrations and they make these noises that we can't hear with our ears, but they did an experiment out in the jungle where they put a microphone on the leaf where these insects were. And there was this whole world going on. They make a noise like a mooing cow, and it's just like so fascinating to me. I don't know if you guys have ever watched the Disney nature documentary called Wings of Life. I don't know if that's the name of it, but it focuses a lot on insects and they're a complex world. And sometimes when I go out for a walk or I look out at the window, I just think to myself, like, these little animals and insects, they're just experiencing a whole different life than we are. They have a whole different world going on that we are completely oblivious to. And that fascinates me so much. I just love thinking about stuff like that. It's just, there's so much all around us that it's so interesting. The part about the dog and the sense of smell was really, really amazing. He talks about the nostril shape and how that contributes. They're actually inhaling air every time they exhale. And he just, he really explains it in an easy to understand type of way. And again, this is another one where I'm a little bit struggling to decide how easy it would be to read because my background is in zoology, and I recently, over the past couple of years, have taken a few higher level college courses that have to do with conservation and biology specifically. So I'm used to a lot of the type of language that's being used, but I think for an everyday person, you would really get a lot of this out of this as well. As far as the way the format of the book is written, I think it's easy to pick up and put down. The paragraphs aren't very long, and he breaks up the chapters, so you can easily start and stop if you don't want to read an entire chapter in one sitting. So this is just absolutely fascinating. And I think he also does a great job of comparing the animal sense to how it would be for us. For example, he talks about vision in scallops, and he talks about how the scallops have hundreds of eyes lining up all around the shell, and they all connect to kind of like this central security system. So the eyes are just detecting motion, and then the feedback goes back to the security guard, the brain, and that kind of alerts the scallop to where they are and what's around them. And he compares that all over type of vision. You know, we're just used to having two eyes in the front of our head, and we're very forward-facing organisms. We experience the world all in front of us. That's all we have access to. But when you have eyes all over your body and all around you, he makes the comparison of touch and how within your body and all of the touch receptors you have all over your skin, we are feeling everything. Like if you stop and think about it and you feel about, you can feel the clothes on your body, you can feel the hair on your neck, you can feel your toes on the ground, you know what I mean? So that's kind of, if you compare that to the eyesight in a scallop, we are receiving all that information, but we're not paying attention to it all of the time. So I think he does a great job of taking these profound animal senses and trying to find a way to make you experience what it could be like. So I really, really am enjoying this. This is phenomenal. I'm going a little slow through it, but that's fine. It might take me all of next month to finish it, but I'm just tabbing it like crazy. And it's been a really enjoyable read. So just wanted to share those two books that I am still in the process of working my way through. And yeah, I guess this is going to be it for the vlog. So thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a wonderful reading month. I would love to know what you're reading right now. And thanks again. I will see you guys in my next video, and take care.